welcome back. I'm Mary Jo, also known as Sojo, and this is my channel where I talk about all my quilty stitchy things. And today is my weekly update number 81, and it is October 6th, 2024. And it's been a week. So I actually quilted something on the long arm this week. I finished 2 more quilt tops and cut out 2 more quilts and a few other things. So since it's now October, my September no-buy is over. So I only really bought one thing that I considered to break my layer cake, that I considered to break my no-buy, and that was a layer cake. However, with October and then November, if you got Black Friday, start having some deals, I'm not going to say I'm going to put myself in a no-buy, but I am still going to try to keep that spending to a minimum. We'll see how all that goes. And since I've been doing this Rediscover My Stash series, you know, I've been pulling out all these things that I even forgot I had. So, you know, do some of those things. And actually, the 2 quilts I cut out this week were from that. So, what did I quilt? Well, I quilted my Disappearing Pinwheel Illusion quilt from Missouri Star that I had made videos about called What Will I Make, with the leaflet 10-inch pack. So we'll hang it up and take a look at it. And so there's the quilt I quilted. And I quilted it with, I think it's called Blowing in the Winds, but it's a leaf pantograph, since the name of that was called leaflet. Name of that layer cake pack, or 10-inch square pack. Now I also had made a pillow. So here's what the pillow top will look like. And again, I quilted that with that same pantograph. And then the leftover backing fabric I'll use to make the back for this pillow, because, you know, it's only basted down right now. So I still have to make the back, or the pillow cover, and then I'll get a pillow form to put in it. So we'll go in, take a closer look at that quilt behind me. Okay, so we're starting at the top. You got leaves and swirls. Kind of that center area. And then over there with the borders. Now I also finished 2 quilt tops this week, so let's hang those up and take a look at them. And this is one of the quilt tops I finished this week. Now this is a half pack quilt. Now what this is, you can buy it in the quilt shops, and you have 5 half-yard cuts of fabrics, and then you get a free pattern with it, and you can pick the free pattern. This particular pattern is called Spin Me Round. Now I can't show you the actual pattern because it has all the dimensions and stuff on the front of it. But there it is. It's just a simple 4-patch pinwheels and some sashing. We'll go in, take a closer look. Okay, starting at the top, just working the way down. Not a lot to say, just a simple, quick, and easy quilt. And this one is the quilt you saw me make last week on my What Will I Make series. And I used a 10-inch layer cake. I think this was Villa Romana from Robert Kaufman, which is an older layer cake. Now in this one, you also see me make a little cutting mistake. So I have 2 of these blocks that are oops blocks. However, I still put them in the quilt. I just put them in the corner, and I think by the time, well, I don't think they're super obvious, and especially by the time I quilt it, I think that will help with it too. So why did I show my mistake? Because we all make them, and I think it's important to normalize that. Nobody's perfect. You're gonna make mistakes. It happens. And even though it was a mistake, I still just worked with it and figured it out. And no, it's not perfect, but I think perfection is only an illusion anyway. So we'll go in, take a closer look at it. So we are up at the top, and this right here is one of my oops blocks the points don't match, and as you can see, this little strip is skinnier than this, and up there in that point diamond doesn't match. But that's okay. Just going down, taking a little bit closer look at the bottoms. And then the other oops block is here in this corner down here. Now I think this is a little bit more noticeable, especially right here at this diamond. You can see that does not match up at all, but that's okay. Like I said, I think once it's quilted, it's going to be blend even more, and when you look at it from a distance, I don't think you'll notice. So what else did I do this week? Well, I cut out the Elizabeth Hartman Swan Island quilts. Now, I haven't actually started sewing. I've just cut all pieces out and I started doing a little bit of pinning. But here is all the pieces in here. There's a lot of pieces, but it's all cut out. Now, I know some people, especially when they're doing like Elizabeth Hartman's, or if they're doing quilts that's the same block over and over, they only like to do one block at a time. That's not me. I cut out the entire quilt all at once, and then I kind of will group it to kind of work on all of those blocks all at once in a chain style piecing, if that makes sense. So that's what I've done here. As I cut it all out, I've got all these pinned for the first few steps for all the blocks. And that's where I am with that. But let me show you what else I did. I also worked on a sew sampler project. This one was quilt pattern. This is using Lori Holt's bee plaids. So I can't show you a lot of what I've done, but they're in there. I've got some seams going on. Started, of course, made all the floor patches, started working on some of these wings and the bodies of the bees there. But I've got that all in there, but it's still too far away for me to kind of show you, hold it up and show individual blocks. I also worked on this pattern. Now this is, if I can find it, something I got from Polar Fabrics over in Indiana, and it is where they have 5 1-yard cuts of fabric, and you have different bundles. You can pick which one you want, and then you get to pick a free pattern with it. And this was the pattern that I chose to go with it. Here's a look at it. What's the name of this pattern? The name of this pattern is Blocky Block. I am almost done with this. I just have to finish adding the big border. So I have the big border pinned on the side, so I just have to sew that down and then the big border to the top. And that will be the big border. It's just pinned. And that's where I am on that. Then I also worked on this encompass quilt. I got some threads right there. Encompass quilt. Now I am making the larger size. Now the larger size is just this with some added borders on. So where I am is I've just started ordering pinning the side borders on right here, so then I'll have to sew it, pin the top and bottom, and then add these extra borders on. Now of course mine is done completely different fabrics. My fabrics are mostly batiks. There are some that aren't batiks, but I thought they had a batik look, so I went ahead and put them in there with them. So this is where I am on this encompassed quilt. Now, all of the borders that need pieced, they're already pieced together. So it is just a matter of me adding border after border after border on. Just trying to find the top here. There it is. So here's where we are. Like I said, this is that pieced border. to get you a better look at what that borders look like on one of the sides. So that's where I am on that. And the last quilting project I worked on was this Mirage quilt, Lori Schifrin Designs. There we go. Now this pattern, along with the Swan Island, were patterns that I had featured in my Rediscovering My Stash series that people had commented on. So I am incorporating to start using those as I finish other projects. And I plan on doing that even some more. Now, I don't have a time frame as to when I want these done or how long. I just work things into a rotation until they're done. This particular pattern, I did have a little bit of a difficulty understanding the directions at first, so I did have to read it a couple of times through the pattern, and then once I figured it out, I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. So I was able to do that, and I cut all of this out, and I'm doing this, and it said you could use like a jelly roll, or you could use 18 different 4th yard cuts of fabrics. Well, I had used the 18 different 4th yard cuts of fabrics, but I had cut it all out, and here's all my pieces. Got them all labeled. And how I plan on doing this, because I work on things in rotation and I will do a certain point. Well, I am piecing 8 rows together. So, at a time. So I went ahead and I got the first 8 rows all pinned together. So when I take it to the sewing machine next time, I can sew those 8 rows. See, there's some pins. And then, after I press it, I can start pinning those rows together by 2s. So I will have 4 2-row sections that I will pin, and then I will pin the next 8 rows. So the next time I go to the sewing machine, I will sew those 8 rows plus the 4 2-row sections. And then when I come back and press, I will take those 4 2-row sections and put them together. So I'll have 2 4-row sections, and then the other 8 I can put together to have those 2, and then, you know, more and more 8 more, if that makes sense. I know that's probably hard to imagine or describe, but that's how I do things. That may not make sense to other people, but it's just how I do it, and I prefer to work things in rotation. I do not work on a quilt from start to finish all in one time. The only exception is pretty much has been my What Will I Make series. I tend to make those from start to finish and only work on those projects until it's done. But I normally work on things in a rotation. Just because for me, I never get bored with a quilt, because every time I pull it out, it's something new, fresh to my brain. Plus, I feel like I catch mistakes better that way, because once I get in my routine and you've stared at the quilt for so long, things just kind of blur together. And when I come back, after you pull it out in rotation, I kind of see things as a fresh eye, and that's just how I do it. Now that I've confused all of you, but I did cut that out. And I do think that's a very interesting quilt. Like I said, the instructions I thought were hard to understand at first, but once I cut everything out and they're all cut out, it's simple to put together. It was just understanding what they meant in their cutting instructions to begin with. But now that's all good. So that is going to be a simple and easy quilt now that it's all cut out. Okay, so I think that's everything I worked on as far as sewing and quilting. Now we'll move on to my cross stitch. So last week I had shown you, well, I had been working on these 9-patch series from Primrose Cottage, and I was up to September. Last week I showed you where I had made one of the Septembers. So I finished the 2nd September. Oops, that's my back. There you go. That's my 2nd September. And started working on my October. So there it is, some ghosts and candy corn and a witch's hat. There's mine. So I worked on that. And then I started on making some more pillows. Now I didn't get these quite finished because I still have to stuff them with some fiberfill and sew in the ends. But here is that other Valentine's Day one that I made and that I had to make the third one for. There we go. So now the first two I made had a white background and this one has like that red background. I do like that. And I chose this because the white ones that I had originally done had more of a white, the cross stitch fabric. The Ada was more of a white color and this is more of a cream. So that's why I decided not to use the white and use the red. So I just have to stuff it and fill that, and that will be mine. And these are the Mays. I had to think. These are the Mays. I just have to stuff them and then sew the ends in. And then I have the Junes. This will be the Junes. There we go. Now I will say on these Mays, I probably either should have not used the plaid or tried to match the plaids up. I think it makes it look a little wonky, but that's okay. It's all right. So that's what I've done for cross stitch. Now moving on to crochet. I have been working on a crochet Afghan blanket, and this is called the Sweet Illusions blanket. It's a free tutorial from Bag O' Day Crochet on her channel. And this is where I'm at, as I'm just lost the hook. But here we go. This is the blanket I'm working on. It's this purple ombre color. And that's where I am on that. And I am using this Yarn Inspiration Karen Colorama Halo right here. I'm onto the white in this layer cake. I think this is the third skein that I've used. Let's see, and this is considered a bulky 5. Now I had somebody ask me last week if I could see the stitches in this. Now I can see the stitches pretty well in this. I'm also using a J hook because this is a bulky 5. However, if I was using a smaller hook, then no, I probably couldn't see the stitches, but I can see them pretty well. All right, and then the last thing is my diamond painting. And here it is, Sledding to Town by Chuck Pinson, legally licensed. And I'm over here in this section, so we're getting close. So it's almost done. So that is everything I've worked on this week. Till next time, bye.